What are the forces against velocity of assets are clear. It's basically financing for LBO type deals. That's whether it's 25, 30, 35% of dollar volumes. That's one way to look at things in the United States versus worldwide. But let's call it 25 worldwide, just to use a number. But of those deals, without the financing, they go down by a percentage. Say it goes down 2/3, right? But meanwhile, offsetting it is strategic goes up somewhat, and there are other forces around the sovereign state deals. The very forces that create the lack of LBO deals creates an additional velocity of assets because companies themselves become under financial pressure, activist pressure, et cetera. And that creates spin-offs, restructuring, things of that sort. The last point is, though, that changes within industry create a increasing dynamic for the velocity of assets, and geographical forces create that as well. And sometimes the latter two combine, become very strong. So for example, in utilities, there is an immense amount of technological change. I was just actually at a utility convention, which was interesting because the utility executives were saying to themselves, talking amongst themselves, saying, people used to think of utilities as somewhat predictable and you buy it for its dividend. But at the moment, utilities are, as they were at the turn of the century, at the ramparts of technology. Why? Because solar, nuclear, wind, the national transmissions, internationalism, what efficiencies are there, other products from their customer base. These are all active issues with them that weren't before. And so thinking about these things and what's the appropriate scale is a very different sort of environment, creates a pattern. In Europe, you can see from what's going on that the utilities in Britain looked at the United States, did a deal. Germans are all over the continent and thinking about the United States. French obviously have been consolidating within France, thinking about, there's a lot of, all this is public. The Italians have been thinking about French and German deals. The Spanish want to do Southern European deals, all of which is in considerable motion. And as they do that, it influences other sectors to think about the very same issues, like most obviously, banking, which you can see some of that beginning, but that too will accelerate. And the very forces that lead to a lack of activity, financial crisis, lead to, if you look at the German Sparkassen, there will be a very different world out there come 5 years from now than there are today. And so these forces, you have to combine all these things. And the surprising thing is, when you net them out, I would agree, you see ups and downs, obviously. But as Leon pointed out, when the financial institutions get clear or want to get back into business, and after all, in order to refinance themselves, re-equitize themselves, they will have to be back in business. You can't just shut down the mainstay of their activity. So they have to eventually clean up their balance sheets, and then they'll be back in a form of business.